Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Jikoji. I'm always curious to know for how many of you is this your first time here? Well, welcome. I'm so glad you found your way up the hill, and welcome to all of you who've been here before. We're happy to see you. We're happy to practice with you, and we thank you for coming up here on a Sunday morning through this Chinese fog kind of landscape, although now it's sunny, and to join us. You know, I'd like to do something just for a second. It won't hurt. I'd like us all to take one big breath and then let it out kind of noisily and saying, ah. Okay, so let's together. Ah. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to explore that with you. I just want to explore that with you today. We've just about a week ago ended a week-long Sesshin Denkoei, which is one of four sesshins that our original founder Kobenchino Otagawa Roshi set up for us here. So this is a week-long period of intensive meditation, and it's called Denkoei, the transmission of light. And after a week of sitting, there is that, because there's just nothing. You've just kind of exhausted all of the things and resistances that you had at the beginning of the week. You're done with your stories, and you do feel very relieved. It's pretty reliable. It doesn't mean that it's easy, but it is reliable. And the reason I'm interested in exploring that feeling at the end of Sesshin, that is because most people who come to Zen practice, especially for the first time, so I'm thinking of you newbies, and I was one of these people, we want something out of this gig. If we're going to sit there, sit down, sit still, take this time away and face a wall, we want something out of it. And what principally most people tell me they want is, they want this kind of, what one person said, headless experience, which I love that expression. They want to get away from this head, as if it's all in this head, not in the whole system. And they want to come up here, pick something up, put it in a pocket, and take it with them. And they can, but it's not what they think it is. It's not what they've come to get exactly. They want to quiet the mind and turn off the noise up there. And I understand that. But when we sit zazen, when we sit this particular way of being quiet and just present with whatever's happening, we cannot demand it produce something for us. It's not the way it works. If only you could go and get that. But that's not what happens here. That's why it's called a practice. It's not once and done. It's once every day for the rest of your life. So I'm talking about this today because I want to encourage you to pick up this practice for once every day for the rest of your life. It sounds daunting. It doesn't have to be. But that's the way it works. If you want, you have to let it do its work with you. And that's not you going to grab it and call it mine. There is this deeper available, but just not as a result of our going and getting it. And what it is this inherent, already present body-mind experience of reality that you actually already have. It's already here. It's already with you. You are each Buddhas already. But you may not know it in your bones, so that you can say, when you sit down. But zazen, this daily practice, reveals to us this inherent, already settled mind and body. It's the being of instead of the getting of if that that makes sense. So today I really want to explore with you how I could possibly recommend you sit down and be quiet every day when there's nothing to gain. And I'm trying to encourage you, and by you, I mean me too. I'm trying to encourage all of us to continue this practice, to allow it to work on us. And especially now, because the world needs people like you. And to be okay no matter what. No matter what. That doesn't mean to be okay and do nothing with your lives. It doesn't mean to be okay and be passive and say whatever. That's not what we're doing here. It means to be okay and do your part, to shine your light with all the other lights. So in preparing to try to encourage you today to take up this practice sincerely in your life, a little bit every day for the rest of your days, I wanted to consider the kind of mechanics of Zazen without talking about how we sit. Some of you got some instruction this morning from Sokyo-san, which is, I'm grateful that you sat for that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actual body-mind experience of what it means to sit Zazen, what the experience not means, but what the experience, how it reveals itself, I guess. And I've come up with this way of talking about it to myself that I hope will be of use to you. It's like a 3-part harmony. Allowing, opening, trusting. So you could, for those of you very familiar with Zen practice and the Sanskrit terms, could correspond these allowing, opening, trusting to our Sanskrit terminology of shamatha. Opening is vipassana, and samadhi would be trusting. But the words don't really matter. It's the actual experience. So when these harmonies, and I want to break them down a little bit, are harmonic, when they're singing together, being witnessed by the one who's witnessing them, that's you in your practice, this natural unfolding arises. You don't have to do anything about it. It just blooms in you, like the full symphony, a whole song. And that arising is wisdom and compassion, insight, clarity, luminance sometimes, but we'll just call it wisdom and compassion. And I want to acknowledge that I recognize, and I'm sure maybe some of you even experienced it this morning, that when you sit down and face the whole world in this wall, it's not like you're only facing the wall. Everything's in there. Everything, everybody, all of time. There is often a sense of a little resistance. Like, well, I don't want to look at that. Or, I really love that. There's also the clinging side. And sometimes the resistance is rather subtle. You just aren't comfortable in your body. Something's making you aware that you feel maybe a little squirmy in mind and body. And Zazen actually asks us to let go of any ideas we have about manipulating our experience, controlling it. I talked to 4 of you who were a little early. Thank you for being early, for a little late for introductory meditation, but early for the Zazen period in here. And I said, when your thoughts come, try not to do anything about them. Just while you're sitting, just do nothing about them. Almost like have no opinion for a little bit of time. I mean, how many places in your life are you free to have no opinion during the day? It's rare. So we practice with having no opinion. And this sounds easy, and many people in contemporary culture parrot, just sit down and be chill, man. It's not easy. My first teacher, Koan Sensei, used to say, you'd think if people knew how free and liberated they could feel, that doors would be getting knocked down. Well, the doors kind of got knocked down today. We're very full. But it's because it's not easy. It's a tremendous discipline and practice, and a kind of trust in your own capacity to bear everything and be okay. So the practice asks us every time we sit down to let go of trying to control reality, to try to manipulate it so that we like it this way and we don't like it this way, just to let it go, just to let it flow. And in fact, it was the Buddha whose teachings were exactly on this point. I'm going to quote him in a second. He told us to observe our impulses, to control and direct, to notice our views. Just notice. He didn't say to judge them and assess them and say that's wrong, that's right. Notice them. There's enough information just in the noticing for later on you to have some wisdom and compassion. Just notice them. To try, when you sit down, to choose very affirmatively to practice with reality as it is. And whatever that is your creation. You're the only one who's experiencing this reality exactly the way you're experiencing it. So it's not easy, but this is the Buddha's teaching. He expressed this in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and this is the Buddha speaking. Obviously, he wasn't speaking English. This is one translation. I feel like I better clear my throat if I'm going to speak on behalf of the Buddha. Excuse me. So he's speaking to his students, and he says this: what is the foundation of mindfulness? There is the case where a monk, or all monks, nuns, whatever you want to call it, there is the case where a monk remains mindful of the body, in and of the body, ardent, aware, and mindful. Having put aside greed and distress, with reference to the world, he remains mindful of feelings, of mind, of mental qualities, ardent, aware, and mindful, having put aside greed and distress with reference to the world. This is from the Satipatthana Sutta, for any of you who want to look it up. And this is the essence of what I was speaking about earlier, about the 3 harmonies. This is the first harmony, allowing. This monk is being advised to allow what's present, to just observe it. This is what's happening in my body. This is what's appearing in my mind. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm observing. This is what I'm sensing. Through all the portals of your body-mind experience. So I like to use the word allowing for most people. For me, I use the word admitting, because there are things I sometimes don't want about my own experience. So just for a minute, think you don't have to say it out loud unless you want to, something that you know and you don't want to admit to yourself. Difficulty in a relationship, work, intimate, regret, pain, sorrow, joy, delight, whatever it is. You already have this information. You know what it is. So when we sit, we allow it without an assessment. We allow it. This first harmony is allowing. Just see it. Admit it. There it is. I don't want to look at this some of the time, but there it is. No, nothing else. Kind of allowing, full stop. No comments, no nothing. But there it is. Like a cloud in the sky. Not dismissing it, not forcing it to go away, also not grabbing onto it if it's this very pleasurable thing. Just admit it. So that's allowing. So, just out of curiosity, during today's sits, you had a couple of periods of sits. How many of you recognized that you had some squirmies? You know, like, ugh, what am I doing here? Why did I choose to do this today? What am I, nuts? Is this a cult? I remember having that thought. Or maybe, you know, not really liking this rehashing that's going on in your mind, the agenda, the regret, the clinging. How many of you, with a show of hands, noticed that arising? Yeah, if you didn't, I'm going to come and take your pulse. Because this is normal. Things enter our awareness. And I hope you didn't punish yourself for what you were admitting, that you just allowed it. But this is perfectly okay to allow it. We just allow it, okay? Again, no comment about this allowing. So I have a personal story to share where I first encountered allowing. This was some years ago, almost a decade ago, I guess. Yeah. I call this the Dharma of jackhammers. It was the very first morning of my very first sesshin. And a sesshin is, again, a period of intensive meditation over about a week's time. This one was like a baby sesshin, 4 days. And yet I had resisted going to a sesshin for more than a year. My teacher kept bowing to me. You should really come to this sesshin. And I would just like disappear. But I finally said, okay, I've built up enough courage to just go and sit there and watch what happens. I mean, I can sit every day, but sitting every day, all day, for me was very daunting at that time. It was at UCSB in the alumni house. I can feel my body there so easily. I can just enter that room and the smell and the space and everything about it. It was a very warm day already in the early morning. I had had a very resistant parking meter. I had to really cajole it. I remember that as well. Do you know those parking meters? They're like really difficult. This is before you could tap, mind you. And in this small room, there were only 4 of us sitting. The windows were open, it was warm out. And just as the first bell, the first sit, the first morning of my first sesshin, dong, rang, a jackhammer started. A jackhammer is one of those machines that goes, and it's breaking up concrete. And I can't see the jackhammer, but the smoke and dust is just blowing right by. Like, it's almost like a fire of smoke, you know, it's just going by. And of course, my first thought was, oh no, how am I going to get through, you know, even one sit with this jackhammer? I mean, I felt it in the ground. It was just overwhelming jackhammeredness existence. And I thought, I can't believe this is my first sesshin. I drove all this way. I made this commitment. It took me 1.5 years to agree to even do this. And now, with the first bell, the first period, this planned this. All the stuff's coming up. Who planned this? Who didn't check with the facilities people? And there's a jackhammer still going on. Boom, 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 boom. Inside this little body was a total war zone. Like, okay, return to your breath. Okay, there's my breath. Why is that jackhammer here? And then the next, okay, focus, focus, focus. I can't believe this is happening. It was a war zone. And, you know, there was no question I was doing, I don't think I can do it. As if there was any place to run. Or I just don't think I'm meant for this. You know, all sorts of little barriers that totally I was making up, right? Of course, somebody in here knew that the real issue wasn't the jackhammer. It was my reaction to the jackhammer. I mean, it was just a jackhammer. I wasn't going to die from the jackhammer. So someone even back then, someone here, practiced in that moment with allowing, this harmony, allowing. There's a jackhammer. No comment. It's making a lot of noise and dust. No comment. I started opening my allowing a little wider. So, what is this? It's sound. It's sound waves hitting my eardrum. It kind of started to fill my skull, and then it felt like it was filling my whole body. And it didn't feel like I was jackhammer going up and down. It just was this complete jackhammer awareness. Like, okay, this is what it is to be with a jackhammer today. I no longer felt like I had to kill a jackhammer. It was just sound. And then I noticed another kind of another line of the music, and that was my heartbeat. And that seemed to be in some relationship to the jackhammer. I can't tell you what the relationship was, but there was that sound, and there was my heartbeat. And they were not opposing each other. And then there was my breath. And the jackhammer, and my heartbeat. And then Joel was sitting near me, and Tom was sitting near me, and there was their breath. And it was all sound. And it became a kind of symphony. And it was okay. It was kind of a rough, percussive symphony. There was that bass line, blah, 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 blah. But it was just sound. And the whole thing was kind of alive, and I was part of it. I was kind of it, and it was kind of me. There was no way for me to separate out the jackhammer from reality, because guess what? It was reality. There's no way that I wasn't part of that reality. So something really softened in me, and I felt this incredible tenderness about the sound of the jackhammer, which just one period ago I was very resentful about. I felt this affection about the whole situation. And I remember thinking, oh, what's happening out there is not destructive. They are maybe taking this sidewalk apart to make a smoother transition for someone in a wheelchair, or kids on a bicycle, or back then people were on razors. Do you remember razors, those little scooters? Or roller skates. Or children with training wheels. That was me, a child with training wheels, sitting there. And I also began to really deeply trust that it was impermanent. It would stop. A moment, and just as I had that thought, I remember it stopped, and I missed it. I missed being enveloped in the whole thing. I think they just took a coffee break, because 15 minutes later it started again, and it went on like this for the whole day. This was a Friday. Saturday and Sunday they did not work. All day, 12 or 13 hours of sitting. I don't remember how long we sat, but it was all day into the early evening. There was that going on. So by the end of that Friday, there was no jackhammer separate from me. And the jackhammer hadn't ceased to exist, but it had transformed, and it had transformed me. There's a Roshi, his name is Jakusho Kwong. I met him last year or the year before. He was stepping down from the Mountain Seat ceremony at Sonoma Mountain Seat Center. He was a good friend of Kobun Chino, our founder. In fact, Kobun helped him with his transmission, even though it was in another lineage. They were very dear friends. They'd been at Tassajara together when it had first opened. Roshi Kwong said this: your realization comes when you see the objective world and realize that it is part of you. The birds singing, the trees, the mountains, the wind, the sky, it's all part of you. You as the subject realizes that the object is no other than you. So this is allowing. This is the lesson of allowing. Allowing what is here fully and completely. It's the first step as we sit down in Zazen. Just admitting reality as it is, without you needing to control it. So once we realize what this allowing is, what reality is, admitting everything that's in your awareness, the next harmony is opening, and that is meeting the experience without the label of good or bad. Just, I see it. I see it. And with the jackhammer example, you could say, I began to listen not as someone who was disturbed, but just as awareness itself. Oh, that's there, that's there, that's there. This is here. You're here. I'm here. The miracle of each of us being here is astronomically bizarre. I mean, it is just your existence is astronomically amazing. And then we're all here together. How did that happen? Like that. Just observing that fact. And this is what Zazen trains us to do when we develop a practice. We develop this ability to remain present, to have some kind of capaciousness for the raw data. The raw data, what's coming in. We get bigger. We expand our awareness to let it all in, without needing to fix it or to flee. When we stop trying to control what's actually here and happening, it is actually here and happening, something new begins to kind of shine through. And that is kind of the simple wonder that you get to be here experiencing it. Like, what a miracle that is. That these ears work the way they work. Or if your ears don't work, like my friend Ocean Sensei, everything else works. And maybe it works better than my ears. Or for me, I need glasses. My eyes don't work the way some of your eyes work. But what a miracle it is I have glasses. And that everything in this body and mind is ready to receive this incredible opportunity of ordinary life. Just this. Nothing special. Breathing. That heart that you hear, that heartbeat that you feel in your body, can you believe it? I mean, I can't believe it. I'm old and I still can't believe it. To be part of this really strange, beautiful symphony. That's what starts to shine through. When you admit reality as it is, it gets bigger and broader. And then this third piece of this symphony, the third harmony is trusting. Trusting is letting go of any illusion that you can control anything. Yeah, you have some responsibilities. Sorry. You have responsibilities to live an upright life, to be as skillful as you can. But controlling the outcome, controlling what life is going to produce, either through your loved ones or your work or the planet, you don't have control, folks. And trust that it's going to be okay, even when it does not seem okay. That is the beginning of where the heart starts to really rest. We trust that if we don't struggle and fight against it and think it should be different, we won't shatter. We will not fall apart. we also trust that whatever is arising is also just passing. It will not remain like this. The jackhammer stopped. Everything that arises stops. In fact, the Buddha's words in the Dhammapada, whatever is subject to arising is subject to cessation. When we stop trying to control reality, this trust, this deep trust in our own capacity to let it all in and not be knocked over, it takes root. I sometimes think of that feeling of its equanimity, like a bobblehead. Do you know what bobbleheads are? In cars, some of us grew up seeing these in cars. It's a little figure, usually oversized head on its little squat body, and it's got a spring on its neck. So the body is just sitting there, but the head is wiggling. And you go around curves and it does, I don't know if I can do it. Maybe some of you can do that better. Just the head moves. And doesn't really ever fall over. It must be weighted. But that's us, right? We kind of move with what's happening. That's equanimity. We're bobbleheads. We won't be tossed and turned. I mean, yeah, we're going to experience life in its fullness, but we're not going to bobble over. So when we recognize these three harmonies, allowing, opening, trusting, over time, as you develop the capacity to admit the raw data, to allow it to permeate your whole existence, and to trust in your own capacity, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and out of that foundation arises wisdom and compassion. So this same teaching arises in many koans. Koans are teachings from the Chinese tradition. This is Thomas Clary's translation, Dawan, not a different translation. We were talking about translations this morning. And these are this is the Book of Serenity. This is one of the collections from the classical Chinese tradition. And this is case 94, which I think I have marked. I do. It's called Dongshan is Unwell. Dongshan's one of my favorite guys. And I'm just going to read you the case, not the introduction of the commentary. This is Dongshan near the end of his life. When Dongshan was unwell, a monk asked, "You are ill, teacher. Is there anyone who does not get ill?" So the monk is kind of saying, you've got this incredible, powerful practice. There's somebody who can overcome it, right? Your practice is so powerful, this is nothing to you. Dongshan says, "There is." And the monk said, "Does the one who is not ill look after you, the one who is ill?" And Dongshan said, "I have the opportunity to look after him." And the monk said, "Well, how is it when the sick one looks after the strong one?" And Dongshan said, "Then I don't see that he has any illness." Oops. So Dongshan shows us that our practice doesn't change reality. He's sick. It doesn't change that he's sick. It changes us. The practice changes us. It changes our reaction to this sickness, our capacity for being sick and well at the same time. He does not transcend his illness. He attends to it. He takes care of it. He takes care of the one who is not sick, the one who's the bobblehead who doesn't fall over, by taking care of the one who is sick. So just as at my first sesshin, the jackhammer wasn't the problem, I was the problem. I had to take care of the one who thought the jackhammer was the problem. This is an opportunity to attend to reality as it is, not the way I thought it should be at my first sesshin. So when we stop fighting what's actually here, reality as it is, when we just admit it, yeah, this is what's happening right now. This kind of compassion arises first. This compassion for the sick one. And take care of that sick one and tend to her, the one who thinks it shouldn't be like this. And out of that compassion arises this great wisdom, kind of a warmth, to recognize I'm not the only one in the world who struggles with reality. All of you do too. There's not a person on the planet who doesn't sometimes think there shouldn't be a jackhammer happening right now. So we cultivate tranquility in the midst of jackhammers, in the midst of our own lives, whatever they are, however difficult they are. We allow ourselves to be completely open and to see things clearly for what they are without an opinion. And then we trust our own capacity to be okay, because you are going to be okay if you stop fighting that it shouldn't be like this. You're already okay. There's someone who's not sick right next to the one who is sick. This is the awe of letting go of it having to be the way I think it should be. This is wisdom realizing itself through your release. So, this is meant to encourage you to practice every day. Come back to Jikoji regularly. Take your seat here. Here. I encourage you to practice with this little harmony, 3-part harmony. It might make it a little easier to recognize what you're doing to yourself when you're not practicing with this harmony. Allowing, opening, and trusting. We chanted today from the Heart Sutra, no old age and death, no end to old age and death, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation, no path. That's the ah. Zazen was not made for perfect conditions, because there are no perfect conditions. It's your life, your jackhammers. Can you give yourself this gift? Allow yourself to be fully present in your own life for the rest of your life. If you do that for yourself, you stop making war like I was, remember? Shouldn't be this way, I can't focus, I can't do this. You stop the war inside. If you stop the war inside, there's just no more problems. Sure, there are things that need to be addressed. There's action to be taken. There's offered. There's nothing to be solved. Just meet things as they are and do your best. So I thank you for your practice. And now it's your turn. And today I'm going to go to the online folks first because I feel like sometimes I run out of time for our friends. Hi, Randy. Good to see you. Hi, everybody.
Good to see you, family.
So, anything you want to say? Anything?
Well, yeah, and there's been maybe a confusion. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm turning my volume up. I hope I am. Let's see. Go ahead.
Um, well, it's sort of, I guess it's responding we go on day after day after day. And after we get up from the cushion, we do something. And I guess I'm responding to trying not to control what is happening, but we respond to what is happening. And there's a difference between controlling and responding. And I'm just thinking about even going to recently a No Kings rally here where I live.
Mhm.
And I'm responding to what's happening out there. And I'm not real happy about certain things that are happening out there. I live with it, and 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 it's almost like watching TV is almost like sometimes like sitting all day, and all this stuff starts. It's just this. That's the news I'm talking about. All this stuff starts to come up, and yeah, I know I can't control what it's on, but I'm responding to it, and I don't know, it's yeah, I I guess I'm trying to understand what Buddhism is, and I've been doing this for over 50 years.
Mhm.
I still don't. Yeah. And you said something about, well, we still do actions. We go out, we have our life, we do this, we do that. But I guess doing it with a clear head, I guess. I'm not sure. Uh, I'm not going to do nothing. That's not a
Good.
choice. I'm not going to do nothing. But I just know that I can't do everything. And certain things I can do and not do. And then one of the important things to me is just going out into the world and being, uh, trying to be a decent human being to other people. I mean, and go, and there's other little things that will come up, and this and that little, sending money to here or there that that are trying to affect the reality of our. We live in a political, economic, social world. It's and I don't think that's what you're saying, but sometimes I get the feeling with Buddhism is just, well, fuck that. We just go off into your own little peaceful little realm and just
I'm definitely not saying that, Randy.
okay, yeah, no, I know you're not saying, but sometimes it sounds like that once in a while. I don't know.
Well,
Uh,
I think it's seductive. I think that it's very seductive, and I think people think of Buddhism as blissedom, and that it's farthest from the truth, folks. Practice for a while, and you'll understand that. But then again, there's bliss. So
yeah,
no, we're not talking about um, not being in the world. We're talking about being completely permeable to everything that's here. And that means being affected, but choosing how to respond.
yeah,
And Randy, you know, because I know you some time now, that you're choosing how to respond as skillfully as you can to you. They're choosing how to respond based on their causes and conditions. They're trying to do their best. And that's our responsibility.
yeah, yeah,
So not taking action, boys and girls. No, we're not here to just ignore reality. We're here to expand our capacity for reality, not get overwhelmed and say, forget it, or as you said it, worse. And to like say, okay, I'm going to meet it. I'm going to do what I can because I'm here. I'm so lucky to be here. I'm going to meet it. And you'll do what you can, and you won't be able to do things you can't. And that's it. Thank you, Randy.
thank you, thank you.
Anybody else online?
Pamela, thank you.
Hi, Peter, son.
Uh, even though we often chant that the way is beyond words. Um,
Peter, can you get closer to the mic? You're very, very soft, and I have my volume all the way up.
okay,
Thank you.
even though we often chant, we hear and chant that the way is beyond words. If if we make this futile attempt to put words to it, uh, you said it very well. Just, to meet what arises and do make our best effort, and so that's the answer to Randy's question, or all of our question. It's actually after um, so simple.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What else could we do? What else can we really do other than fight it? Thank you, Peter. Okay, friends, anything you'd like to say? Doesn't, whatever has come up for you today.
I have a question. How do I know what is my best? When you say we things as they where they are and do my best.
Mm. Well, first of all, I would say that you will never know. Like, this is it. I'm doing my best, because it's changing in every moment, like everything else. It's impermanent. Your best. And also, I think you already know your best, because it's not an intellectual evaluation of like, boy, look at me, I'm really doing this. It is, this feels really wholesome. Really wholesome. Now, I use that word a lot because it really works for me. Ocean Sensei, one of our teachers here, said, that's our brand. Wholesome. And I kind of think it is. Maybe not just our brand, but maybe the brand that we should all aspire to, which is action that is consistent with our deepest values. And therefore, the outcome of that hopefully will not harm this one or anyone, but you're not in charge of that outcome. So this wholesome is your best bet. And that means, practically speaking, and I'm sure you know this from your own life experience, that it's not always readily apparent. That this wholesome takes this is wisdom, right? Wisdom and compassion takes percolation sometimes. Sometimes you're just like, oh, I know exactly how to meet this person. There's nothing between you. And sometimes there is. But the thing that's between you and a person that you think there's something between is not them, it's you. So you work with this one. You turn that light here and you say, what is it? What's in the way of my being completely wholesome? And it might take a day, it might take a week, it might take a minute, it might take an hour, it might take the rest of your life. I don't know. But no good will come from your lack of capacity to receive. Again, allowing, opening, and trusting yourself to come up with a response that feels, this is what I have to offer in this moment to this person or to myself. So you know that feeling already, right? You know how it feels to like, this is what I can offer. It may not be enough. It may be too much. This is what I have to offer. Open hand. Here you go. This is what I have to offer you right now. It might not be what you need, but I hope it is. It's what I have to offer you. And it changes. Yes.
So I was wondering what if you're just more sensitive to
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you.
what if you're just more sensitive to noise? Like for example, like loud noise just like actually hurt your ears. And what if like it affects you more than other people? And like for example, like it causes like consequences like for example like last week there was a dog barking for
Mm.
2 hours
Mm.
from 11:30 to 1:30 a.m. And I wasn't able to sleep at all. And I was just really frustrated from the situation, and also from the comparison that it seems like I wasn't able to sleep, but like my friends who are my neighbors and also my partner are able to sleep somehow. And by that comparison, I just get really frustrated. Like, I guess my body differences. So, how do you deal with that? Well, I guess number one, like, how do you just make no comment when it physically hurts you? And especially, it seems like you are the one who's only hurting. Like, it doesn't affect other people.
I hear you. I get you. There's all sorts of things that come up, but the two that I really want to address. The first thing is take care of yourself. The first thing is take care of the one who's sick, like in Dongshan. Take care of the one who's hurting. There's someone inside who can take care of the one who's hurting. And then, in doing so, remember Dongshan said, then I can see there's no illness. So right now, you're seeing yourself as kind of specially sensitive to this. And I actually know this experience. I went to law school in Los Angeles. I lived in a street where there was this dog barking all night long. And other sounds too that were not okay with me. And I remember that sound of, for me, it was the sound of pain. That dog barking was the sound of pain. And I remember thinking about, well, I'm experiencing it as pain. Other people are not. What does that tell me? Yeah, it's kind of in it. I can't tell you what it's going to tell you, but I'm very practiced with asking, who is it? Who is it here that is harmed by this? Why, not why, how is it that I receive this and cannot allow it? It's going to keep me awake. And by the way, I have this problem sometimes with people snoring. And I stuff my ears with wax. Because I don't think I should, you're not supposed to run in front of a car and say, it's not going to affect me. Things will affect you. You're going to be vulnerable. You're human. You're allowed to be vulnerable to the barking dog. But you could also put earplugs in. You could put whatever you need to do to be okay with it. And also asking yourself, who is it that thinks she's a victim? And is this in any other part of my life where I think I'm specially cursed with this experience? Because most of us have experiences of thinking of ourselves as victims. But that victim is not this person. It's like Dongshan. Again, I know I'm being a little Zen-like here. Forgive me. But I would play in that field. Consider who it is that feels specially sensitive, and also take care of that one who's specially sensitive. Okay? Does that help?
Is that first to see what kind of actions to take care of the situation?
To take care of you.
To take care of, to minimize the effect, and then
Right.
and then after the action's been taken, trying to tell yourself that you've done everything you can, and then I guess live with it.
Well, that's an interesting question because I talk a lot about being okay no matter what. That's the bobblehead. Being okay no matter what. So you do whatever it is you can do to take care of the sensitive one, and also to think about, do I feel that way in every part of my life, that I'm especially vulnerable? And then if that's the case, who is that one? So there's lots of yous, right? There's a multitude of you. And I would...
A little more of the multitude philosophy one.
The multitude philosophy?
Like the
It's not really a philosophy, it's my own experience, and it's yours too. It's because other things don't affect you particularly, and other things do affect you particularly. So the example I often use in beginning meditation when people are first looking at the wall is there's going to be a lot of, there's my shadow, there's going to be a lot of my shadows in that wall. So yesterday's Nenzen, tomorrow's fantasy Nenzen, this Nenzen right here, they're all there from the time, from my earliest memory, maybe before my memories, because we inherit, collective information from our family. So I consider it like a flip book. You know those flip books? You go, and it's little animation. They're all you. So that's the multitudes. In other words, you're not the same person you were before you came up this mountain this morning. Right now, this person is different. You've had some adjustments. Your cells have been changing. All sorts of things have been changing. Can you allow that the person who's feeling sensitive is not the person who's present when you're eating your breakfast or doing something else? So if you could see that there's a multitudes of you, I mean really, as many minutes or moments in your life as there are to be lived, there's a version of you. And you don't have to get attached to one, but you have to take care of that one. So, this is a very actually profound question you've asked, because what you've asked is the same question the monk asked Dongshan, which is, how do I take care of the one who feels sick? And that's all of us. At any given time, we're wounded. Our feelings are hurt. We don't feel well. We're physically sick. We're going to die. How do I take care of all of those beings? That's the beauty and creative act of your life. This is the great matter. How to be alive and be okay with however life is. Not okay and sitting on your duff and not engaging. Okay, I can take it and I'll do my best. The world has always been on fire. It's not going to change. So how do you want to live your life? And, zazen, sitting zazen, getting used to this incredible array of you, makes it easier, because you just don't get too attached to things being how you think they should be. It's not the dog barking. It's not the jackhammer. It's you. And you can take care of the one of the multitudes who doesn't like the sound of the jackhammer or the dog. Put something in your ears. Put on white noise or pink noise or green noise or brown noise, whatever it is now. Take care. But also recognize that there's an idea behind that you can't tolerate it. And I'm telling you, you can take basically anything and integrate it into, because it's reality. The dog is barking. There are lots of other things you could do, by the way, is talk to the owner of the barking dog.
Call the police.
You called the police. Well, that's another thing you can do. But sometimes just saying, I'm having trouble with your dog barking because it sounds like pain to me. What can I do? Can I help? Some people give them a Kong at night. And happy and occupied. I'll buy you a Kong if you think it would be okay. Whatever you can do. Coming not from a place of, this has to stop, and I'm angry, but compassion for the dog. I'm sure it's not great for the dog owner too. Doesn't probably know what to do. See that connection? This interconnection?
Okay, I guess it's easier to be compassionate if you are not in a state of anger.
Take care of the one who's angry. Don't kill her. Please don't kill her and say she shouldn't be angry. We're not doing that, okay? We're not rejecting anything. We're allowing everything. But I think a barking dog can become a jackhammer, which is just part of the fabric of your existence. And you can also put earplugs in, and you can also call the police, and you can also talk to your neighbor. There's an infinite number of choices when your heart is open to what's really here. And sometimes when your heart is open to what's really here, wisdom will arise and you'll say, I don't want to live here anymore. It's okay. It won't be because you're angry. It will be because I don't think this really is wholesome for me. Same thing goes for relationships and jobs. It's really important work you're talking about doing. And it begins, forgive me for banging this into your heads today, this wisdom and understanding arises on this seat. I did hear a bell, which means somebody thinks we should be up there. But if there's anything else that you want to ask, please do it, because once we go up there, I have a cookie and I get sleepy. That's just the truth. So, yes.
Yeah, just a quick question. Yeah, again, thanks so much for the awesome Dharma talk again. But I think one question I'm kind of thinking about is, so, like, I guess the idea is when you like sit and do like zazen, right? You're kind of thinking about like what you can't really control and just kind of letting it go, right? In a sense, maybe that's kind of the way I kind of phrase it. But what about things that like maybe you can control? Like let's say you have two really big decisions that could impact your job, could impact your family, maybe even if they can survive, for example. Like how would you like maybe forgive yourself maybe for making like the wrong decision? Like 'cause a lot of times there's two decisions, you try to open yourself to it, but you really cannot figure out what to do, and you make the wrong one and you just get into regret cycles. Like how would you like maybe?
Well, this is a really great question.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking, because most of us do this comparison. Like there was an ideal decision and I didn't make it. And there isn't an ideal decision. There isn't perfection. There really isn't. Even in retrospect, when you think, I should have made a left instead of a right, that was not a mistake. You may think, I won't make that left again, right? But it was not a mistake. Why is it not a mistake? Because you have compassion for the one who made it, and you have a teaching from that mistake. So now you're wiser. So why compare like that? You don't know what the other road is. I have been telling people this because I raised children, and I remember them asking this question, like, I don't know which to do. And I would say, well, whichever road you go down, there'll be pluses and minuses, because you think in retrospect that I really made a mistake not doing that and choosing this. But the fact is, you have no idea what that reality would have done, right? I think this is that, there's lots of movies about this. But, that movie, The Matrix, right? You don't know that you wouldn't have been in the same moment of regret going down plan A instead of plan Z. So I wouldn't go there. And actually, I think comparison's a very kind of unwholesome activity. We're designed to do it, so don't beat yourself up because you're comparing. All of us are designed to do it because you need to know that this is poisonous and this is good for your body, right? So comparison is survival tactic number one. And compare. You have a choice. Like, well, that's not, we're training the mind here, right? That's not a wholesome approach for me to take care of the one who's suffering. So again, Dangshan, there's someone who's sick, who's saying, I should have done that, it was a mistake. Well, maybe you could just admit you were doing the very best you could, and you were. And by the way, you know when you're not. You know when you're not doing the very best, right? That's when you make a decision before it's time. When you have not, I like to say, wait for it. It's really hard to wait for it. And I am the poster child for having a hard time with this. I have really strong instincts, intuitive instincts, and I trust them very deeply. And also I have to wait and make sure, like, really is this wholesome? Not so much this intellectual experience that you're talking about so much, but this kind of, am I going to be okay with this? Forgetting about anybody else. Can I live with myself if this is what I do? And there isn't a perfect choice. So, you got to have some playfulness here. And in fact, that is the joy of this practice, that you realize there's no perfection. So if there's no perfection and you're standing in the threshold of a decision, just allow it all and say, doing my best. And you will know when you're not doing your best. And don't do that. Okay?
And then can I have a follow-up question?
Sure, sure.
How do you allow that wait? Let's wait for it.
How do I allow the wait for it? Well, this is my practice too, my friend. How do I allow that? Sometimes I just keep my mouth shut. That's a big practice for me. Really, I don't say anything. Or if I have to, like in a relationship, I'll say, I hear you, and now I have to spend some time with this, because what's coming up for me, if I respond to it right now, I won't feel it's helpful to me and to you and to the world, right? So there is this kind of, again, this is the result of sitting. I'm not saying I have the greatest practice in the world, but I have a lot of time sitting. And what's come up for me is this compassion, so that when I feel, fearful or worried or doubtful, I know to pause. Pause. The world is not waiting for my response. I have to wait and be patient so that I can be kind and skillful, because I will be the one who regrets it more than anybody else. How many of you have had the experience where you said something that you regretted, then you go to the person and you say, look, I want to apologize, I said this and I feel like it wasn't kind, and they go, I don't even remember you saying it. The world is not paying as much attention to you as you are. They're all paying attention to their own stuff. Trust me on this. They really are not that interested in you. And so you be interested in you doing the best you can so that you can be okay. And you'll still have people come up to you and say, you hurt my feelings, and you go, I don't even remember saying that. It'll be flipped. And you'll say, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't even remember saying it, and I'm not making an excuse, but I won't make that choice again. Thank you for your teaching. Sometimes they'll be yelling at you when they say this, and it might take you a few years to accept they're wounded. They're just like you. They're hurt. And it's really maybe not even about you. You just triggered that response. Okay, if you can take things less personally, it's great. But take yourself seriously in your conduct. You're welcome. Maybe I'll do that, because it's really a noble way to live. Okay.
I have one quick question.
Okay, one quick question.
I wonder if you're in the state of poverty or disease, will the practice of admitting, opening, and trusting bring you out of that state, or just make you allow to continue living in that state? And would you require some active choice or active actions instead of the passive acceptance or the passive reaction to harmony, in order to bring you out of this state? Something like that.
Yeah, well, I guess I want to back up a little and ask you about poverty and scarcity, because a mind of scarcity is what we would call it in Buddhism. And they're not sure that mind is reality. So if you're talking about really poverty, no food, no shelter, your basic needs are not being met, you have to act to take care of that one. It's just, again, Dongshan. Take care of the one who needs to put earplugs in, who's bleeding, who needs your compassion and help. But if you're talking about the mind of scarcity, the heart of scarcity, there's not enough. I have to kind of safeguard what I've got, and everything's at risk. This is an insisting bell. It's okay. There's nothing cooking up there. They're cookies. Nothing bad's going to happen. So people have fixed views about when we should be up there, let me tell you. So, but this is a very profound question about, are you okay, even when you don't feel okay? And this is the function of practice. Like, you get your seat so steady that you cannot be knocked over. Many of you know that my husband died 2 years ago. He was sick with Alzheimer's for 6 years. Some of you were here with me while I was going through that. And it was really tough. And, it gives me goosebumps still. In the middle of it, I had this realization, or maybe it wasn't in the middle, it's probably been year 1, but he was gone. My husband at 40, then not 40 yet, was just not there anymore. And it was really tough. And I had this realization, thanks to my then teacher. I said, I'm falling apart. I'm completely falling apart. And my teacher said, good, fall all the way to the ground. You'll get up. And when he said that, I thought, there is someone here who's going to get up. And from then on, I knew I'm okay no matter what. If I'm dying, I'm okay. No matter what, I am dying. Everybody's dying. It's okay. No matter what happens, I am a pretty steady bobblehead. It's not easy in the moment of the suffering and the pain to allow the suffering and the pain and also know there's also somebody here who's okay. That's Dongshan again. I'm sick, I'm suffering, my life's a mess. There's also somebody here perfectly okay. And she'll be okay, even when she ceases to exist. You with me? Okay. Okay, we're going to end now, friends. If you catch me in the first few bites of the cookie, I'll still be able to talk.
At the bottom of page 2, after the Dharma talk, it's chant in the same way after you hear the sound.
May our intentions equally extend to every being and place with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it.